Before we dive in, let me leave you with a truth that echoes across every chapter in human history. Nothing we are began in silence. Every civilization, every story, every ancestor left a trail of wisdom waiting to be rediscovered. What you are about to hear is a part of a legacy, preserved, decoded, and brought back to the forefront. I'm OG Mooney. Welcome to AI Legacy Lab.
The story of Aboriginal Australia begins tens of thousands of years before the rise of Rome, before the pyramids, before the kingdoms of Europe or the empires of Asia, because this is one of the oldest, continuous cultures on Earth. Everything about their history, their identity, their spirituality, and their survival reaches back into a time so ancient that science is still catching up. When the first ancestors of these people arrived on the great island continent, they stepped into a land filled with powerful forces, unpredictable weather, sacred landscapes, and a natural world that demanded respect and understanding. Over tens of thousands of years, they developed knowledge systems that were richer, deeper, and more advanced than anything outsiders could imagine. And those systems shaped the culture that still lives today. Across the vast deserts, the coastlines, the forests, and the mountains, Aboriginal groups built identities rooted in land, connection, and kinship. Each region carried its own language, its own customs, its own sacred stories, and its own responsibilities. Passed down from elders to youth in lines of memory older than writing, older than agriculture, older than most civilizations we study. And rather than building massive stone cities, their culture lived through song, through ceremony, through oral tradition, through dance, through art, and through the spiritual blueprint that explained creation, the land, the ancestors, and the invisible threads that connect all living things. This spiritual world was not myth to them. It was law, science, history, identity, and the way life itself was organized. The Dreamtime stories were not just tales. They were maps, calendars, survival guides, and moral teachings encoded inside narratives so poetic and so ancient that modern researchers are still stunned by the accuracy of the information preserved inside them. Through these stories, Aboriginal communities passed down knowledge about astronomy, navigation, weather patterns, animal behavior, and land cycles. This knowledge was so detailed that scientists now recognize it as one of the most sophisticated ecological systems on Earth, because Aboriginal people were not simply living on the land. They were living with it, shaping it, guiding it, and maintaining its balance through fire management, controlled burns, and ancient practices that protected environments long before anyone used the word conservation. When colonization arrived in the late 1700s, everything changed violently. The British misunderstood the land, the people, and the culture, and labeled what they saw as empty, even though it was one of the most carefully managed landscapes in the world. The invasion led to violence, displacement, stolen generations, forbidden languages, and the attempted destruction of one of humanity's oldest knowledge systems. But even through the trauma, the loss, and the pressure to erase an entire identity, Aboriginal culture did not die. Because a culture this old, this deep, and this spiritually rooted cannot be erased by force. It adapts, transforms, and survives, just as it has done through ice ages, climate shift, and the movement of continents themselves. Today, Aboriginal Australia stands as a reminder of the strength of memory and the resilience of identity. Because despite colonization, despite attempts to silence their voice, their culture still breathes through art, music, ceremony, activism, and the revival of languages once thought lost. The world is beginning to recognize that what these people preserved for over 60,000 years is not just history, but a blueprint of human connection to land, spirit, and community. Their story challenges everything we think we know about civilization, technology, and ancient intelligence. Because they thrived without kings, without castles, without armies, without written scripts, yet with a knowledge system so advanced, it carried them through the longest, continuous cultural timeline on the planet. In the end, the history of Aboriginal Australia is not just a story of survival. It is a story of identity, wisdom, resilience, and spiritual depth. And it teaches us that humanity does not begin with monuments or metal or cities, but with connection, balance, and the ability to understand the world around us with respect and responsibility. As we look toward the future, the lessons preserved by this ancient culture remind us that the oldest knowledge on Earth still has the power to guide the generations yet to come. The legacy of Aboriginal Australia remains one of the most extraordinary chapters in the entire human story. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into our shared human history.
Another chapter reclaimed, another piece of history placed back where it belongs. If you have found any meaning in this, let it sit with you. Let it sharpen your vision, not just for the past, but for who we are becoming. I'm OG Mooney, and this is AI Legacy Lab. Honoring truth, protecting legacy, one story at a time. Until next time, stay curious.